Alright, it's the next afternoon. I did get these installed, these TKO-10 axle housings installed yesterday. It was a real easy build, really easy installation. The assembly was awesome. I really like the material that these axle housings are made out of. The only holdup is the lack of availability for a panhard mount. And what I had done was just took a piece of sheet aluminum I found and made a quick panhard bracket to put on these trusses. Now, when I did order the housings, I ordered two housings and two rear trusses simply because there wasn't a panhard mount available, and it was just easier to make one. Now, I've seen people making do with a Vanquish SCX10 panhard slash 3-link mount on this actual axle housing with minimal modification, a little bit of grinding, and it apparently fits really well. After seeing some pictures, it's a very good look. I'm not a big fan of that setup because of the having two links and the torque of those two links on that setup. One screw in one of these holes, even though these housings are pretty durable, and then one screw that goes through the housing. It's kind of a bit of odd torque on that, so I'm not a big fan of it. Anywho, the recommendations out of the factory are to have tight-fitting C-hubs and knuckles, C-hubs and lockouts. That's just to keep these axle housings from separating. Keeping them nice and tight together keeps them strong. And that was pretty much why I went to beef tubes on this originally, because on one of the other, God knows how many trucks I've driven, I think I hit the rear tire on something pretty hard, and it actually split. It pushed this to split the cases, and one of the ends of the axle housing snapped. Having the beef tubes in there really helps alleviate that issue, but as of right now, I do not have beef tubes for these axles. Now, they are available. They have aluminum, brass, and steel available, and I'm probably considering the brass ones. I did have some steel beef tubes in here for a few years, and I did notice the last time I forgot to rub a little bit of grease on the outside of one set. I think it was the rear set, and they actually had some rust on them. Normally when I install, everything gets a little light coating of rust, or excuse me, a little light coating of grease to keep that rust out, keep the water out, keep the dirt out, and I must have been in a hurry and forgot it. So that happens, no big deal, they were fine. I just soaked them in some oil and rubbed off the rust later on. But yeah, I think I might go with the brass beef tubes in these as soon as I get a chance. Again, I'm amazed. I love how this setup looks. It did take a little bit of work to get my link lengths right for the upper links. I do not have stock link locations on the old axles or on the actual chassis itself. I have the DCW link riser set from supershafty.com in this, and I had them set pretty high. I actually lowered them a little bit. I may put them back up because I did notice a little bit of torque twist that was added after lowering them. Probably in the rear, I'm going to go ahead and raise them up again. So that'll help the triangulation of these rear links and get rid of some of that torque twist. And other than that, drive shaft angle is a little bit different. I kind of like having them tucked up a little bit further in the links like that. That way they're not dragging on the ground and in the dirt. They kind of stay up out of the way. I did check them for binding at all different points of articulation. They're fine. So that's probably one thing I'm not even going to worry about. So these are the TKO-10s from Ottsix Racing. Freaking awesome. I am just so amazed. I can't wait to get out and scratch them up. I may even bang on them a little bit. I mean, at $15 an axle housing set per set, so I can get a front or a rear for 15 bucks. That's not really that big of a deal. I'm just curious how strong they are. I have really honestly no worries about them. And aside from, like I said, adding some beef tubes later on, I just can't wait to run them. These things look freaking awesome. Take a look there. You can see up under there. That's pretty much it. Just really quick, we'll hit on the recommendations from the factory. The recommendations from the factory are to treat them like plastic axle housings. There's really no reason to bang on them too much because it isn't a scaler, and that is a recommendation, is to drive your truck in a scale fashion. That way you can actually ensure some longevity on these things. That's not to say that they're going to break, but it is plastic and anything can happen. They do recommend that you don't take it off of big jumps, don't put it under massive loads of torque. On a brush scaler it should be fine, but anything can break at any time, no matter what the material is. Like I said, they do recommend tight-fitting C-hubs and lockouts, and also to just think about what you're doing while you're driving them. I would imagine they will take up a little bit more abuse than the stock axial SCX-10 housings will. And like I said, the assembly was awesome. This new material, it made such a positive thread putting a screw into this plastic that I really wasn't afraid to do it. I was actually able to move a little bit quicker than I was with the assembly of the SCX-10, the stock axial SCX-10 housings. Just remember a little bit of Loctite here and there. A little bit of blue Loctite so you can get it loose later on. So there they are. We'll catch you later.